From Anshei Sphard-Beth Emeth congregation, it's time to take 10 minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of the counting of the ha-omer, bloopers, misconceptions about the counting of the ha-omer, the Sphard-Beth. First misconception people have about the counting of the ha-omer relates to the view of the Baal Halachot Dolot, Rabbi Shimon Kayara, lived in the 10th century. He wrote in his book that if you miss one day, you missed it all. What's important to know is that firstly, the Tosfot, who's a little closer to us, he's Ashkenazic authority. The Tosfot say that lo yitachen, it cannot be that if you miss one day, you miss the entire thing. They view that as a preposterous view. Now, we have deference for the Bahag, his view that if you miss one day, you missed it all. So therefore, if you miss one day, you don't make a bracha. But the reason we continue counting without a bracha is that according to the other view, your mitzvah is completely good. There's nothing wrong with missing one day. They're totally separate mitzvah. It's a mitzvah for every Jew to count every night. And if you miss one, it's true that it's nice if it's complete. It's great if you can count every day. But if you miss one, it's still a mitzvah. So the notion that somehow, I missed it, forget about it, that is such a misconception. The notion that a person should think that, and let's say on the 7th night they forget to count the ha-omer, and that then the next, 42 days, they won't count at all because they say, well, there's no bracha anyway, so there's no point. That is such a misconception. Every person who counts the ha-omer, even if they miss 1 or 2 or 16 times or 48 times, they get a mitzvah according to Tosfot, according to one of the great authorities. And not only that, but they say that with great confidence. Lo yitachen, that they think it's impossible to imagine, says the Tosfot in Menachos, Samach Vav Aleph, that it's impossible to imagine that if you miss one, you missed it all. Then there's another misconception. So let's say you did miss one. According to the view that if you miss one, you missed it all. So then what happens? So there is a view that if you think that you're likely not to make it, then maybe you shouldn't start at all. Some express this view regarding women. Say, well, it's a time-related mitzvah, so women are exempt. It's true that the Minchas Chinuch, Rabbi Babad, said that it was their custom a few hundred years ago in Europe that all the women did count the ha-omer, but some suggest, no, maybe in some communities there's no particular custom like that. And if the women count like everybody else, they might forget to count. Maybe perhaps they're not in shul as much with everyone else to count and to have someone remind them. This is before they had the special OU email you can get to remind you to count the ha-omer. You can go on the website, ou.org, and you can get a reminder. So if women are likely to forget it, so forget about it. They shouldn't count at all. Because what's going to happen? They're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're going to forget the 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th day. And then all those brachos that they made on the first 8 is a bracha levatal. It's for nothing. Some authorities say that that's ridiculous. Even according to the Bahag, who says that if you miss one, you missed it all. Doesn't mean that if a person in good faith counts 1, and then counts 2, and counts 3, and counts all the way to 27, and then they forget something, it doesn't mean that somehow that it was a bracha levatal, it was a blessing for naught. What do you mean? With good faith, they intended to continue counting. Why should we say that they shouldn't? That everything they did until now was a waste of time? Even according to the stricter view that you can't miss one day, you cannot miss one day. Still, who says that if you do, all the ones that you did count is a bracha levatal, the blessing was for naught? That ain't necessarily so. Then there's another misconception. There are all kinds of jokes about this, and that is, if someone asks you, what day of the ha-omer is it? So everyone's, I'm a big scholar, I know the correct answer is, you don't say today is such and such day. Like for instance, today is the 12th day. You don't say today is the 12th day. You say last night we counted 12. that can be a misconception. Why? The Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law, says that if you are in the twilight zone, if you're about to count the Omer, the sun has already set, and you're in the twilight zone. And according to some rabbis, you could already count. Tosfot says you can count already. And then someone asks you what day it is, and you say, "Oh, tonight it's 12th day," and then it turns out that you already counted. You say tonight is the 12th night, so then you got the mitzvah, and now you wanted to count with a bracha. You can't count with a bracha anymore. But if someone asks you at 9 o'clock in the morning at Shachris, "Oh, what day of the Omer is it?" It's a mitzvah according to the Bahag. It's a mitzvah to say, today is 12 days in the Omer. Don't miss out on that mitzvah. Don't say, last night we counted 12 days. I don't know if you get the mitzvah. If someone said, last night we counted 12 days, I'm not sure you get the mitzvah of counting the Omer. But according to the Bahag, if a person during the day says, today is 12 days in the Omer, you get the mitzvah. Because Nixer Bayom is kosher. If you reaped the first reaping of the Omer, the barley that was later ground and waved on the altar, around the altar. If you and they took a handful of it and they threw it on the altar. If you counted, if you even reaped during the day, it was okay. It's kosher. So the Bahag says, therefore, if you count during the day, it's also kosher. So therefore, you should say today is 12 days. When should you say last night? That's if the sun is already set. And I would add something else. If it's a few hours before the sun is set, there's also a view that perhaps you could still get the mitzvah. So if it's, let's say, after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, just to be safe, you should say last night we counted 12 days. But if someone asks you before 3 o'clock in the afternoon, what do we count? You should say it is 12 days in the Omer. That's a mitzvah to say that. If they ask you at night after you counted the Omer, what day? Oh, you just came home from shul. What night of the Omer is it, honey? You should say, today is 12 days in the Omer. It's a mitzvah to count the Omer. If they ask you during the morning, Shachris, 12 days in the Omer. Ask you during lunch, 12 days in the Omer. If they ask you close to sundown, they ask you after sundown, and you haven't counted yet, then you should say, last night we counted 12 days. That's misconception number 3. Misconception number 4. People don't realize that you have to stand. The rabbis make a drasha. It's not ma'akev. It doesn't ruin the mitzvah if you don't do it this way, but you're supposed to stand. You're supposed to count from the time that the stalks are standing. So we stand when we count the Omer. Most mitzvahs, we stand when we do them. So you should stand when you count the Omer. Misconception number 4 is that this is a period of mourning. What do you mean? It could very well be that during the 33 days or during the entire Omer, it's a period of mourning because, after all, it says in Gemara in Yevamos, Samach Beis, this was the period when the 24,000 students, the 12,000 pairs of students of Rabbi Akiva perished. And therefore, it's a period of mourning. We don't have weddings. We don't take haircuts. However, there is another view which says that it's not so much that we're mourning for the students of Rabbi Akiva. I once heard that Rabbi Soloveitchik thought it was strange to walk over to someone and say, hey, what are you so upset about? He said, oh, the students of Rabbi Akiva died. I'm mourning. I know it sounds like that's a normal idea. People died, you should mourn. But he thought that was strange. And in fact, some suggest that it's not that we're mourning for their loss. It's a period, it's a dangerous period, it's a strange period. It's a period when thousands of students died. So we take pause because it's a sad period. Today is Yom HaShoah. It's in some way appropriate that it was chosen by the Jewish people that they should commemorate the Holocaust during this period. It's a period that has bad things happen. Some of the German Sfarim, the German books, write about all kinds of stringencies people took on, even much further. They didn't bathe during this period, not because of Rabbi Akiva students, but because during the Crusader period, a lot of bad things happened during this time. So it's an auspicious time it's an inauspicious time. It's a time which a lot of bad things have happened. Some say that Mishpat Rishonim Gehenom, that the wicked are judged in purgatory, specifically between Pesach and Shavuot. So it's an inauspicious time, not so much a period of mourning. Also, we should know that that according to Ramban, this is sort of like the intermediate days. It's like Chol HaMoed. There's some happy elements to this time. After all, we're surrounded by Pesach, Shavuos. We're just in the middle of the days. It's harvest time. We harvested the barley. We're getting ready for the Ktsira Chitim. We're going to harvest the wheat. We have new wheat. It's exciting. We break out the shops with all the new wheat. It's a very exciting time. Right now it's Nisan. And in that sense, it's appropriate that the Yom Ha'atzmaut somehow, strangely enough, it falls during this period, a great time of celebration, because this time yet will be a great time of celebration yet one day. Along these lines, that it's really a custom of not taking haircuts, questionable whether that applies to shaving as well. Along these lines, Rabbi Soloveitchik thought, and Rabbi Lichtenstein for a time acted on this as well, that on Erev Shabbos, where it's a mitzvah to look good and spiff up. So therefore, Rabbi Soloveitchik thought that on Erev Shabbos you specifically should shave, if you usually shave, to look better for Shabbos. It's a mitzvah to get ready for Shabbos. It's not a unique view of Rabbi Soloveitchik. The Chidah, great mystic, great Sephardic and authority and preacher, and also the Kaf HaChaim, the major Sephardic authority, also thought that on Erev Shabbos you could shave, you could trim your beard. So that's also perhaps a misconception. According to some, the general custom is not to shave during the 33 days, but there is a basis for some to shave on the eve of Shabbos as well. Finally, what is this tamimos? This notion, this misconception, this bahag, the notion, one view that indeed if you miss one day, you missed it all. It's based on the idea of tamimos. You have to have complete days. Tosfot thought you should start it early in the evening in order to have the complete day. The basic Gemara is that you should count during the night, so you get the whole day. You count the night part and the other day. There's some of the Achronim, some of the later authorities say that Tamimos, the completeness, means that on the last day you should wait till the stars come out, so you start Shavuos too early, so there'll be 7 complete weeks. But what's this idea of completeness? That's the whole goal. The whole goal of this period is to achieve Tamimus. We want to be more whole. We want ourselves to be more whole, to be prepared to receive the Torah. We need, as it says in some Hasidic Sforim, we need to prepare ourselves. It's a period where we're trying to be Tamimim. It's a difficult thing. 7 weeks, it's like a marathon, to try to be pure and whole for these whole weeks, to be ready to receive the Torah. If we do this, surely Shavuos will be a different Shavuos. If we really work on ourselves to be as whole as we can be during these 7 weeks, then when we get to Shavuos, we'll be ready, we'll be glowing with the purity of the 7-week preparation, the counting of the Omer, the counting from the Omer, the anticipation of receiving the Torah. And God willing, a very inspiring Shavuos and an inspiring 7 weeks launching us into the inspiring summer as well. Thank you very much for joining us here at the Anshei Sphard-Beth Emeth congregation for a discussion of the Omer bloopers. And thanks to Jason Lefkowitz, our producer. Thank you.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein. To learn more, visit asb.org.